And I might have gotten a preview of what that midterm messaging will sound like. In a word, results. On Friday, I spoke with House Speaker Paul Ryan, who joined me from the Jack Kemp Foundation's Kemp Forum for a substantive conversation on an issue we both agree on. It's the economy, stupid. So for those of us familiar with Jack Kemp, it's no surprise that you are a perfect fit to address this forum. You were also a staffer for Kemp when you first came to Washington. I know he means a lot to you, but why now are his views, his vision for America in 2018 more important than ever?
Well, they're more important than ever because we have a lot of people hurting in this country. We have a lot of division in this country. We have a lot of stubborn problems like poverty that need to be addressed. And Jack Kemp, Jack was my mentor. Jack preached an inclusive, aspirational type of conservatism, which was focused on solutions and what worked, and in a free enterprise, limited government way that actually brought people together to try and solve really stubborn problems like persistent poverty. We have an economy that's doing really well. We have great opportunities out there, but we still have doing really pockets in America, in rural America, and in urban America, all across the country, of people that are just slipping through the cracks, that have not met their version of the American dream or the American idea. And so of all the times when we want to take that Jack Kemp philosophy, one that I believe in, and apply it to these problems of distressed communities and poverty, this is the time to do it, because I think we can get a really good outcome right now.
Well, and you and I have talked before about how conservative ideas, both fiscal and philosophical, are the better pathway to solving poverty and increasing upward mobility. So for anyone out there who thinks Republicans don't care about poor people, tell them why they're wrong.
Well, first of all, yes, of course we're wrong. We want to make sure we believe in this beautiful philosophy that each of us have these special rights before government that allows us to pursue happiness and make the most of our lives. We believe in the American idea that the condition of your birth doesn't determine the outcome of your life. As Jack used to say, the most powerful weapon in the war on poverty is free enterprise. And so what we want to do is make sure that we can connect the people in this country that are hurting, the least among us, with the opportunity that is out there so that they can make the most of their lives, determine their lives, get on the escalator of life. And so we have lots of ideas that by the way, we've achieved many of these things just this past year. Lots of ideas. This is part of our Republican Better Way agenda. The final installation of our Better Way agenda that we ran on in 2016 was to fight poverty effectively, restore upward mobility, and close the skills gap so that we can get people from welfare to work, we can get people out of poverty into the workforce and into the middle class. And so that is basically what our agenda is all about. And we have ideas that we believe whose time have come that will help do this. And that's what we're here talking about. The policies and the principles, the philosophy, and the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. And that's what we're here talking about at the Kemp Foundation Forum.
Yeah, let's talk about one of those ideas, which is opportunity zones. This was sort of an under-the-radar provision included in the tax reform bill. How does that work?
Yeah, so this is something I've been working on literally for 25 years. I've been in Congress 25 years, but for 5 years prior, I worked on this as Jack Kemp's staff economics guy. We used to call them enterprise zones back in those days. And what we were always working on was we have a lot of distressed communities, poor areas of communities, and we want to get private capital into those distressed communities to hire people, to bring economic revitalization and resources to these communities to get people up and out of poverty. So what an opportunity zone is, it's a bill that I worked on with people like Tim Scott, a senator from South Carolina, Pat Tiberi, a recently retired congressman from Ohio. We've been working on this for many years. We put this in the tax law. This is now law of the land. And so what that means is 25% of the poorest census tracts in America are now opportunity zones. Each state designates which 25% of their poorer census tracts become opportunity zones. And then those zones are now cleared for tax-free investments, capital gains tax-free investments into projects, jobs, opportunities in those zones. We also have something we call social impact bonds, which is a way of getting private capital to try and put toward fixing a social problem in a distressed community. These are now law of the land. They've been Republican Jack Kemp orthodoxy for many years, but we haven't got it passed before. Now it's the law. So we believe we can invite billions of dollars of private capital into poor communities to solve these stubborn problems that have been persisting for a long time.
Yeah. Well, President Trump and Republicans make the case often that the economy is doing well and joblessness is down, poverty is down. Those are facts. But for those who would say yes, but for how long, given some of the short-term economic policies that have been put into place, what reassurances would you give that this isn't gain now, pain later?
That's right. So the whole purpose of our tax legislation was short-term, medium. Short-term, for instance, you can repatriate dollars from overseas back into the country. Apple is bringing $350 billion from overseas that they couldn't before into this economy, into the country. They're planning on hiring 20,000 people now in America. So that's a quick jolt to the economy. But the medium and long term in the persistent poor communities are things like social impact bonds, opportunity zones, so that we can get patient capital investing in these communities to have long-term economic growth. So what we don't want to do is have a sugar-high economics. We want to have persistently stronger economic growth with a better foundation of bringing economic opportunity to poor, distressed communities in America and prove the concept works. That's what we're trying to do here. What we're doing with our welfare reform and our workforce development agenda is streamlining career and technical education so we can have more technical and career education in local levels. We just passed our prison reform bill out of the committee the other day, so we can get people coming out of prison, getting them skills. What we find is, SE, there are more jobs open in America today than there are people looking for jobs in America today.
Right.
But in addition to that, we've got over 10 million men and women in America, able-bodied, working age, who aren't working, who aren't looking for work, who are not in school. They're in the sidelines. They're trapped in poverty. So we want to encourage and pull people out of poverty, get them into school, get them job training, work on those soft skills, get them into work. And that is what our entire agenda is all about.